Okay, let's go with the rest of these puzzles. I'd like you to try them on your own, and I'm going to fill in the answers. Okay, so in this case, we're multiplying to 6, adding to -5. This is going to be -2 and -3. All right, need to pause the video right now and get these done. You need to try them on your own, and then here are the answers. Okay, so multiplying to -15, adding to -14. All right, multiplying to -75, so one's positive, one's negative. All right, and which one's bigger? I think it's going to be -15 and 5. All right, here, this is the easiest. Both numbers have to be positive, so you're going to have 3 and 4. Okay, by the way, I don't know if some of you are still confused by this. Could you have thought of 6 and 2? Yeah, well, 6 and 2 multiplies to 12, but it doesn't add to 7. Okay, so that's the key. There's nothing wrong with guessing, but then check. You got to check to make sure you're correct. Okay, so same strategy here, same questions. All right, we want to multiply to -6, add to -1. So you're going to have -3 and 2. Okay, multiplying and adding. Multiply to 7, add to 8. All right, don't just copy this down. That doesn't do you any good. Make sure you're trying these on your own first. Okay. So, again, practice guessing and checking. 2 and 1 multiplies to 2, but they have to add to -3. Okay, so what multiplies to 18? Well, there's 1 and 18, there's 2 and 9, there's 3 and 6. 3 and 6 add up to 9, but they both have to be negative. Okay, so that's practice for what we need to be able to do here. All right, remember the FOIL method? How do we expand this? Well, you're going to take the first terms, the outside terms, the inside terms, and the last terms, and you get x squared plus 8x plus 16. So what we're going to do now with factoring is we're going to say, all right, I'm giving you this. What was that? What were the two factors that multiplied to do that? So trinomial factoring is the reverse of the FOIL method. Okay, so to do this, think of the two numbers that multiply to C, so they got to multiply to this, and they got to add to this. For today, this will always be 1. Okay, so look at this question. X squared plus 8x plus 16. Well, if you just look up in your notes, you should see that we just did that one, right? That's this right here, x squared plus 8x plus 16. So I already know this is going to be x plus 4, x plus 4. But how did I get that? Okay, so this is the question. For today, this will always be 1, so you know to get x squared, it has to be x times x. There's no other way to do that. All right? And now, what you need to do is think about what multiplies to 16 and adds to 8. And if you don't like looking at it this way, you could do this. Multiply to 16 adds to 8. Okay, well, that should be 4 and 4. Okay, so let's try the next one. If it helps you to do this, to write it out like this, go ahead. Okay, but eventually you're going to get away from that. You're going to be able to do this mentally. Okay, what we want to do, know this is x and x. We want to multiply to -6 and add to -1. So you're going to have -3 and +2. All right, and I think at this point I should remind you to check. All right, let's take x minus 3 and x plus 2. And if I FOIL this, I get x squared plus 2x minus 3x minus 6, which is x squared minus x minus 6. So it checks. Okay? Now, just a couple of things to make sure you're okay. These two factors could be reversed. It would also be correct to say x plus 2, x minus 3, right? Because it doesn't matter what order you multiply in. They're both correct. All right? I also want you to notice that I'm writing the check over here. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to say, okay, here's my answer, and now I'm just going to write this. Because to me, that doesn't make sense. Because like you have this and now you're back to this again. I want that to be separate. I don't want you to write this over here. Okay, I want you to write it off to the side. I'm checking. This is my answer. This is just checking. All right, so let's try another one. So I know it's today it's going to get harder the next class. Today it's going to be x times x, because this is 1x squared. All right, and now I need to multiply to negative 24. Okay, so I'm thinking about negative 24. So I'm going to have 1 and 24. I'm going to have 2 and 12. I'm going to have 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Those are the only ways I can get to 24. Since it's negative, one of the numbers has to be negative. And since they add to a negative, the bigger one must be negative. So it's got to be one of these sets. Well, which one of these adds up to negative 5? Plus 3, negative 8. Okay. Let's try another one. Hopefully you're trying these on your own. Hopefully right now you're pausing the video and you're saying x times x. What multiplies to 12? Oh, how about 3 and 4? Except multiplies to a positive, adds to a negative, so they must both be negative. Okay, if you're not sure, check. Okay, the next one, I want you to put a star. Why am I going to put a star? I want you to remind yourself to always GCF first. Okay, now how did I know to do that? Well, you should always do this. Now I haven't thrown the GCF in because I wanted you to get used to the trinomial factoring. But if you look here, do you see that there is a GCF? There is a greatest common factor of 4. Okay? And that makes the trinomial much easier to factor. Because now look, I have that 1x squared. So I know this is just x and x. That's much easier than working with a 4x squared. You'll see more of those as they come up. But if you can do the GCF first, it will be easier for you. Okay, and if you don't, if you forget, I will take off half a mark for not fully factoring. Okay, so this is going to be negative 6 and plus 1. And you're saying, wait, no, that's not it. What about negative 2 and negative 3? Well, that multiplies to positive 6. That doesn't work. Okay, when you check, you should know whether it's right or wrong. Okay. This one looks different because there's a y squared. You'll see very quickly it's very simple. Okay, we're going to have x and x. And now, just ignore the y squared for a second. What multiplies to 5 and adds to 6? Okay, it should be plus 5 plus 1. Now what about the y? Well, this y squared, we can put a y and a y here. And you're still saying, well, what about this xy? Well, maybe this is a good one to check. If I take x plus 5y and x plus y, what do you get? You get x squared plus xy plus 5yx plus 5y squared, which is x squared Can I add xy and yx? Yes, they're the same thing. Multiplication, order doesn't matter. So this is 6xy, and this is 5y squared. Okay? Alright, last one for today's lesson. You guys try it. Got an x and an x. And now we need something that multiplies to negative 12 and adds to negative 10. Okay, so I can't see what it is, so I'm going to try. I'm going to go 1 and negative 12. No, that doesn't work. What about 2 and negative 6? What about 3 and negative 4? Are there any others? There are no other options, and none of these add to negative 10. Okay, so you can't just say, well, I'll just pick the best one. What this tells you is it doesn't work. And what that means is, you're right, cannot be factored. It is not possible to factor this. Okay? Now, don't leave it blank, because that looks like you don't know what you're doing. You have to say, cannot be factored, or just go CBF. Okay? So that doesn't happen very often. As an aside, a couple years ago I had a grade 10 exam, and I put 6 factoring questions on it. And one student, for all 6 of them, wrote, cannot be factored. That's not going to happen. If I put a question on an exam, at most, 1 will be not factorable. At most. On your homework, there will be a few that can't be factored, but most can be factored. Don't put cannot be factored when you mean I cannot factor. That's different. Okay? So you guys are now on exercise 5. All right, good luck.